The Great Hall of the Galactic Justice Center stretched for miles in every direction. Its crystal walls reached up toward a ceiling that sparkled like captured starlight. Representatives from 47 different species sat in floating chairs that moved silently through the air. Today was different from other court sessions. Today they would judge a human. Tom walked into the hall with steady steps. His brown hair was short and simple. His clothes were plain blue fabric that looked old compared to the shining robes worn by others in the room. He carried no weapons. He wore no armor. To most people watching, he looked like nothing special. But Tom had done something that shocked the entire galaxy. 3 weeks ago, he had destroyed 3 Zephyrian Empire warships. Each ship was the size of a small city. Each ship carried weapons that could destroy planets. The Zephyrian Empire ruled over hundreds of worlds. No one fought them and won, until Tom did. Princess Vera sat on her throne at the far end of the hall. The throne was made from blue crystal that glowed with inner light. She was tall and beautiful, with silver skin that shimmered like metal. Her eyes were bright purple and seemed to glow when she looked at things. 2 small horns grew from her forehead, marking her as royal blood. Vera watched Tom walk forward and smiled in a way that was not kind. She had been looking forward to this day. The princess had heard stories about humans before. They were supposed to be weak. They lived for less than 100 years, which was nothing compared to her people who lived for thousands. Humans had no special powers. They could not read minds. They could not move things without touching them. They could not even fly. So this is the great human warrior, Vera said. Her voice was loud enough for everyone in the hall to hear. He looked smaller than I expected. Tom stopped walking when he reached the center of the hall. He looked up at Princess Vera but said nothing. His face showed no anger or fear. Tell me, little human, Vera continued, how exactly did you destroy our warships? Did you use magic? Did you call upon your gods for help? I used strategy, Tom replied. His voice was calm and quiet. Vera laughed. The sound echoed through the hall like breaking glass. Strategy? You mean you made a plan? She laughed again. Our ships have the best computers in the galaxy. They can think faster than any organic brain. They can predict every move an enemy might make. What strategy could possibly work against them? Tom remained silent. Perhaps, Vera said, standing up from her throne, you simply got lucky. Yes, that must be it. Humans are known for their luck, are they not? Though from what I understand, most of your luck is bad. Several aliens in the audience made sounds that might have been laughter. Others watched with serious expressions. They had all heard the reports about the battle. 3 Zephyrian warships destroyed by 1 human in a small rescue vessel. It should have been impossible. Queen Nara sat on a larger throne behind her daughter. The queen was older than Vera, with the same silver skin but longer hair that moved like liquid metal. She wore robes of deep red that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Her purple eyes were darker than her daughter's, and they watched Tom with careful attention. The queen had studied the battle recordings many times. She had seen things that troubled her, things that made her wonder if the galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. Mother, Vera said, turning to face the queen, surely we do not need to waste more time on this creature. The evidence is clear. He attacked our ships without cause. He should be punished according to our laws. The evidence shows that 3 of our warships were destroyed, Queen Nara replied. But the reasons for the battle are still being discussed. Tom stepped forward. Your ships were taking human children as slaves. I came to get them back. Vera spun around to face him. You dare interrupt a conversation between royalty? And you dare accuse us of slavery? The Zephyrian Empire does not keep slaves. You call them workers, Tom said. You say they choose to work for you. But children cannot choose, and you do not let them leave. Details. Vera waved her hand dismissively. The children were being given opportunities to serve a greater civilization. They should have been grateful. They were 7 years old, Tom replied. Old enough to learn proper respect, Vera snapped. She raised her hand and Tom suddenly lifted off the ground. His feet dangled in the air as invisible force held him up. This is what real power looks like, human. Watch carefully. With a gesture from Vera, Tom flew across the hall and crashed into a wall. The impact was hard enough to crack the crystal surface. Tom fell to the ground but immediately stood back up. He had a cut on his forehead but otherwise seemed unhurt. Impressive, Tom said, wiping blood from his face. Can you do that to 3 warships at the same time? Vera's eyes flashed with anger. She raised both hands and Tom flew into the air again. This time she spun him around and around like a toy. "I could break every bone in your body without touching you," she said. "I could crush your mind with a thought. I could stop your heart from beating. But you have not," Tom observed even as he spun through the air. "Why is that?" Vera stopped spinning him but kept him floating in the air. "Because I want you to understand your place before you die. Humans are nothing. You live short lives filled with struggle and pain. You fight wars over tiny pieces of land. You cannot even leave your home planet without building machines to carry you through space." "That is true," Tom agreed. "We do build machines. We also build other things." "Like what?" Vera demanded. "Homes, schools, hospitals, friendships." Vera laughed again. "Friendship? You think friendship is impressive? We Zephyrians have mental bonds that connect us across space and time. We share thoughts and feelings directly. Your crude emotional attachments are nothing compared to our connections." "Then why?" Tom asked. "Are you here alone?" The question caught Vera off guard. She looked around the hall and realized that no other Zephyrian sat with her. Her mother was there, but as a ruler, not as family. The other species had representatives who sat together and spoke quietly among themselves. But Vera sat by herself. "I do not need companions," she said quickly. "I am above such needs." "Everyone needs companions," Tom replied. "Even princesses." Vera dropped Tom to the ground with more force than necessary. He landed hard but rolled to absorb the impact and came up standing. "You know nothing about me or my people," Vera said. "We are superior to humans in every way. We live longer. We are stronger. We are smarter. We have powers that you cannot even imagine." "You are right," Tom said. "You are stronger than me. You are smarter than me. You will live much longer than me." He paused. "But I rescued those children and you did not stop me." The hall fell silent. Even the floating chairs stopped moving as everyone waited to hear what would come next. Vera's face turned red with anger. "You used tricks and deception. You caught us by surprise. If we had been prepared, you would never have succeeded." "You are probably right about that too," Tom said. "But you were not prepared. And now the children are safe." "This proves nothing," Vera said, but her voice was less confident than before. "It proves that being stronger and smarter does not always matter," Tom replied. "Sometimes what matters is being willing to try when others give up." "Ridiculous," Vera snapped. "Strength is everything. Intelligence is everything. Power is everything." She gestured around the hall. "Look at this place. Look at these beings. They are here because they respect power. They follow the strong and ignore the weak. Is that why you think they are watching you now?" Tom asked. Vera looked around the hall again. Every alien representative was indeed watching her, but their expressions were not what she expected. Some looked curious. Others looked concerned. A few looked disappointed. "They watch because they fear me," Vera said, but she sounded less sure. "I think they watch because they are trying to understand something," Tom said. "They want to know how a weak human defeated 3 strong ships. They want to know what they might be missing." Queen Nara had been listening to the entire exchange with growing concern. She could see that her daughter was becoming more agitated and less controlled. More importantly, she could see that the other species were starting to question things they had always accepted. The queen had ruled for over 2,000 years. She had seen empires rise and fall. She had watched species grow strong and then destroy themselves through pride and arrogance. She recognized the signs and she did not like what she was seeing in her own daughter. "Enough," Queen Nara said, standing from her throne. "This discussion has gone on long enough." But Vera was not ready to stop. The human had made her look foolish in front of the entire galactic assembly. She could not let that stand. "No, Mother," Vera said. "This human thinks he can mock our power with words. I will show him what real strength looks like." She turned back to Tom. "I challenge you to combat, human. Single battle between the two of us. When I win, everyone will see that Zephyrian power cannot be questioned." The hall erupted in excited chatter. Combat challenges were rare in the galactic courts. They were usually reserved for the most serious disputes between species. Tom looked at Princess Vera for a long moment. Then he looked at Queen Nara. Finally, he looked around the hall at all the watching faces. "I accept," he said. Queen Nara closed her eyes and sighed deeply. She had hoped to avoid this moment, but it seemed that some lessons could only be learned the hard way. "Very well," the Queen said. "The combat will take place in 1 hour. Standard galactic rules will apply. The battle ends when one fighter surrenders or can no longer continue. As the aliens in the hall began making preparations for the combat, Queen Nara watched her daughter with worried eyes. Vera was smiling with confidence and excitement. She truly believed that defeating the human would prove her superiority once and for all. But the Queen had studied those battle recordings carefully. She had seen how the human had fought against impossible odds and won. She had a terrible feeling that her daughter was about to learn a lesson that would change everything. The hour of preparation began, and the fate of more than just two fighters hung in the balance. The combat arena was built beneath the Great Hall. It was a perfect circle made of the same crystal walls, but these walls were much thicker and stronger. They had to be. Many battles fought here had involved beings who could destroy mountains with their bare hands. Representatives from all 47 species crowded into the viewing areas above the arena. Some had traveled across the galaxy just to witness this fight. Word had spread quickly through the diplomatic channels. A human was going to fight a Zephyrian princess. Most beings thought it would be over in minutes. Tom stood alone in a small preparation room. The walls were plain metal and the only furniture was a simple bench. He had been given 1 hour to get ready for the fight, but he did not need weapons or armor. Instead, he sat quietly and thought about what he had learned by watching Princess Vera. She was strong. Her telekinetic powers could lift objects weighing several tons. She was fast. When she moved, she seemed to blur from one place to another. She was also angry, and anger made people do predictable things. Tom had fought angry opponents before. During his time as a soldier, he had learned that the strongest enemy was often easier to defeat than the smartest enemy. Strength without control was just destruction without purpose. A door opened and a small robot entered the room. It spoke in a mechanical voice. "The combat will begin in 5 minutes. Do you require any weapons or equipment?" "No, thank you," Tom replied. "Are you certain?" "Princess Vera will be using her full powers. The arena contains weapons from many worlds if you wish to select something." Tom shook his head. "I have everything I need." The robot made a sound that might have been confusion. "Scans indicate you carry no weapons, no armor, and no technology beyond basic clothing. How do you plan to fight?" "Carefully," Tom said. In another preparation room on the opposite side of the arena, Princess Vera was also getting ready, but her room was much larger and filled with attendants. Some were adjusting her combat suit, which was made from a metal that could deflect energy blasts. Others were bringing her weapons to choose from. Vera selected a sword that glowed with purple energy. The blade could cut through almost any material. She also chose a small device that would enhance her telekinetic abilities, making them even stronger than usual. "Princess," one of her attendants said nervously, "are you certain about this fight? The human defeated 3 warships. Perhaps he has hidden abilities we do not know about." Vera laughed. "Hidden abilities? He is human. They have no special powers at all. The only reason he succeeded before was luck and surprise. This time he faces me directly. There will be no tricks, no hiding, no running away." She looked at herself in a mirror. The combat suit made her look even more impressive than usual. The sword hummed with deadly energy. She felt ready to prove once and for all that Zephyrians were the superior species. "When I defeat him," Vera continued, "every being in the galaxy will remember this day. They will remember that Zephyrian power cannot be challenged." Queen Nara entered the preparation room. She had changed from her ceremonial robes into simpler clothes. But her expression was serious. "Vera," the Queen said, "I want to speak with you before the fight begins." The attendants quickly left the room, sensing that the Queen wanted privacy. "Mother, you do not need to worry," Vera said. "This will be a quick victory." "That is exactly what I am worried about," Queen Nara replied. "You are thinking about winning quickly instead of thinking about winning wisely." "What do you mean?" The Queen moved to the window that looked out over the arena. Thousands of beings were taking their seats in the viewing areas. "I have lived for a very long time, daughter. I have seen many battles and many wars. The fighters who think only about quick victories often find themselves defeated by opponents who think about long battles." "The human is not strong enough for a long battle," Vera said confidently. "His species lacks endurance. They grow tired quickly." "Do they?" the Queen asked. "How long did his battle against our 3 warships last?" Vera paused. She had not thought about that detail before. "I do not remember exactly." 14 hours, Queen Nara said quietly. He fought for 14 hours without stopping. Our ships had to retreat twice to recharge their power systems. He never stopped attacking. This information made Vera uncomfortable, but she pushed the feeling away. Fighting ships is different from fighting a person. Ships are predictable. I am not. You are more predictable than you think, the Queen said. You fight the same way every time. You use your strength first, then your speed, then your telekinetic powers. You always try to end battles quickly, because you believe overwhelming force is the best strategy. It has always worked before, against opponents who fought the same way you do, the Queen pointed out. What happens when you face someone who fights differently? Before Vera could answer, the mechanical voice of the arena system filled the room. Combat will begin in 1 minute. Fighters, please enter the arena. Vera picked up her sword and walked toward the door. You will see, Mother. This human is nothing special. When the fight is over, you will understand that Zephyrian power cannot be defeated. Queen Nara watched her daughter leave. She hoped Vera was right, but she had a feeling that the next hour would change everything. The arena floor was covered with sand that had been brought from a dozen different worlds. Each grain was a different color, creating a swirling pattern that looked like a painted rainbow. Tom walked out from one entrance while Vera emerged from the opposite side. The crowd above fell silent as the two fighters approached the center of the arena. Tom looked even smaller standing across from Vera. She was taller, stronger, and covered in armor that gleamed under the arena lights. He wore the same simple blue clothes from the trial. An announcer's voice echoed through the arena. Combat between Princess Vera of the Zephyrian Empire and Tom of the Human Colony Worlds will now begin. Standard galactic rules apply. The battle ends when one fighter surrenders or is unable to continue. Fighters, prepare yourselves. Vera raised her sword and activated its energy field. Purple light crawled along the blade like living electricity. She also began concentrating her telekinetic powers, causing small objects around the arena to rise into the air and orbit around her body. Tom stood with his hands at his sides. He appeared to be doing nothing to prepare for the fight. Begin, the announcer said. Vera immediately launched herself forward. She moved so fast that she seemed to teleport from one spot to another. Her sword swept down toward Tom's head with enough force to cut him in half. But Tom was not there anymore. He had moved to the side at the last possible moment. Vera's sword hit the arena floor and sent up a shower of sparks. Stay still, Vera commanded, spinning around to face him. Tom did not reply. He was already moving again, circling around her at a steady pace. He stayed just out of reach of her sword, but close enough that she had to keep turning to face him. Vera grew frustrated with his movement and decided to use her telekinetic powers. She gestured with her free hand and Tom suddenly flew backward through the air. He hit the arena wall hard enough to crack the crystal surface. The crowd made sounds of excitement. Many had expected the fight to end with that single attack, but Tom rolled to his feet and continued moving. He now had cuts on his face and hands, but he did not seem bothered by the pain. Impressive, Tom said as he continued circling around her. How many times can you do that before you get tired? Vera did not answer, but the question worried her. Her telekinetic attacks required a lot of mental energy. She could not use them constantly without exhausting herself. She decided to rely on her speed instead. Vera began moving around the arena, trying to catch Tom from different angles. Her blade swept through the air in deadly arcs, but Tom always managed to avoid the strikes by tiny margins. The pattern continued for several minutes. Vera would attack with overwhelming force. Tom would barely escape. Then Tom would move to a different position and Vera would have to adjust her strategy. Slowly, something began to change. Vera's attacks were still powerful, but they were becoming less precise. She was breathing harder than before. Her movements were not quite as fast as they had been at the beginning. Tom, on the other hand, seemed to be moving more efficiently. His dodges were becoming smoother. He was learning to predict where Vera would attack next. You cannot run forever, Vera called out, launching another telekinetic blast that sent Tom tumbling across the sand. I am not running, Tom replied, getting back to his feet.
I am learning. Learning what?
How you fight, Tom said. You use your strength first because it feels good to overpower your enemies. Then you use your speed when strength does not work. Finally, you use your telekinetic powers when you start to get frustrated. Vera felt a chill of fear. The human had been watching her patterns just as she had been trying to defeat him. But now I know something else, Tom continued. Your telekinetic powers make you tired. Every time you use them, you need a few seconds to recover. And when you recover, you always step back with your left foot. Vera looked down and realized that she was indeed standing with her left foot slightly behind her right foot. It was a defensive stance she used without thinking about it. Knowing my patterns will not help you, Vera said, but her voice was less confident than before. You still have no way to attack me. You have no weapons. You have no powers. You can only run and hide. You are right, Tom agreed. I cannot hurt you with strength or speed or special abilities. He paused in his movement and looked directly at her. But I do not need to hurt you to win this fight. What do you mean? Instead of answering, Tom did something unexpected. He stopped moving away from her and started moving toward her instead. Vera was so surprised that she hesitated for a moment before attacking. When her sword swept down, Tom moved inside the arc of the blade instead of away from it. He was now standing much closer to her than he had been during the entire fight. Vera tried to step back and create distance, but Tom matched her movement. He stayed close, but not close enough for her to grab him. When she tried to use her telekinetic powers, Tom moved behind her during the moment when she needed to concentrate. The crowd above began to murmur with confusion. They could not understand what the human was trying to accomplish. He was still not attacking, but somehow Vera seemed less in control than before. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. Vera continued to attack with sword and telekinetic blasts, but Tom's new strategy was making it much harder for her to land decisive strikes. She had to be more careful with her powerful attacks because he was so close. If she missed, she might hit herself. More importantly, Vera was getting tired. Her breathing was becoming labored. Sweat was running down her face despite the cool air in the arena. Her attacks were losing their precision and power. Tom, meanwhile, seemed to have found a rhythm. He moved with steady, economical motions that conserved his energy. Every few minutes, he would change his pattern slightly, forcing Vera to adapt to something new just when she thought she understood what he was doing. This is impossible, Vera gasped, stopping her attacks for a moment to catch her breath. You should be exhausted by now. Humans do not have this kind of endurance. You are thinking of the wrong kind of endurance, Tom replied. He was breathing hard but still seemed capable of continuing. You are thinking about how long someone can run or lift heavy things. That is not the only kind of strength. Then what kind are you using? The strength that comes from having a good reason to keep fighting, Tom said. I think about those children I rescued. I think about all the other children who might need rescuing in the future. That gives me strength that does not come from my body. Vera felt something she had never experienced before in combat. Doubt. For the first time in her life, she was in a fight that she might not win. She tried to summon her power for one final overwhelming attack. Purple energy began to build around her body as she prepared to unleash everything she had left. But before she could complete the attack, something happened that changed everything. Her legs gave out beneath her. Vera collapsed to her knees in the sand, gasping for breath. She had pushed her body beyond its limits. The armor that had seemed so impressive at the beginning of the fight now felt impossibly heavy. Tom stopped moving and stood a few feet away from her. He could have attacked while she was down, but he did not. Do you surrender? He asked quietly. Vera looked up at him with exhaustion and confusion in her purple eyes. I do not understand. How did you do this? I am stronger than you. I am faster than you. I have powers that you do not possess. All of that is true, Tom agreed, but you used your strength to try to end the fight quickly. I used my strength to make sure the fight continued until you ran out of energy. But humans are supposed to be weak. Everyone knows this. Tom extended his hand to help her stand up. We are weak in some ways, but we are strong in others. We do not give up easily. We learn from our mistakes quickly, and we think about more than just ourselves when we fight. Vera stared at his offered hand for a long moment. Around them, the arena had fallen completely silent. Thousands of beings were watching to see what would happen next. Slowly, Vera reached out and took Tom's hand. He helped her stand up, supporting her weight until she was steady on her feet. The crowd above erupted in noise. Some beings cheered. Others argued loudly about what they had just witnessed. Representatives from different species turned to each other with expressions of amazement and concern. But the loudest voice came from the royal viewing box. Vera, Queen Nara's voice echoed through the arena with the force of absolute authority. You will bow to this warrior. Princess Vera looked up at her mother in shock. Mother, I do not understand. I lost the fight, but that does not mean I should bow to him. You will bow, the queen repeated. Not because he defeated you in combat, but because he showed you mercy when he could have claimed total victory. Vera looked back at Tom. What does she mean? When you fell, Tom explained, I could have taken your sword. I could have pointed it at your throat and demanded your surrender. Instead, I offered to help you stand up. Why? Because the fight was over. You were no longer a threat to me or to anyone else. There was no reason to cause you more pain. Vera felt something crack inside her chest. It was not a physical pain, but something deeper. For her entire life, she had believed that power was everything. Strength was everything. The ability to dominate others was what made someone important. But this human had shown her a different kind of power. The power to choose kindness when you could choose cruelty. The power to build up instead of tear down. Slowly, Princess Vera lowered her head in a bow of respect. The arena fell silent again. Then Queen Nara began to speak, and her words carried to every corner of the galaxy through the broadcasting systems. Let this day be remembered, the Queen said. Today we learned that true strength is not the ability to destroy your enemies. True strength is the wisdom to know when destruction is unnecessary. She stood up from her throne and looked out over the assembled representatives. The Zephyrian Empire has ruled through fear and power for too long. We have taken what we wanted and justified it by saying we were strong enough to take it. The Queen paused and looked down at her daughter and Tom, standing together in the arena. But this human has shown us something we had forgotten. There is a strength that comes not from your body or your mind, but from your spirit. The strength to protect others. The strength to keep fighting when everything seems hopeless. The strength to show mercy to those who have shown you none. Queen Nara raised her voice so that every being in the galaxy could hear her words. From this day forward, the Zephyrian Empire will seek to learn from humanity. We will study their ways of building instead of destroying. We will learn their patience and their determination. She looked directly at Tom. And we formally apologize for taking their children. Those children will be returned immediately, along with compensation for the harm we have caused. Tom bowed respectfully to the Queen. Your apology is accepted, Your Majesty. And if you truly wish to learn from humanity, then I offer to serve as an ambassador between our peoples. The offer is accepted, Queen Nara replied. As the crowd began to disperse, Princess Vera remained standing next to Tom in the arena. She had removed her combat armor and now wore simple clothes similar to his. I have a question, she said quietly. What is it? You said that everyone needs companions, even princesses. Do you think it is too late for me to learn how to be a friend instead of a ruler? Tom smiled. It is never too late to learn something new, and I think you will find that being a friend is much more rewarding than being feared. Vera nodded slowly. Then perhaps you could teach me. I have never had a friend before. I would be honored, Tom replied. As they walked out of the arena together, representatives from dozens of species watched with new understanding. The galaxy had learned something important that day. Humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their determination. Though both were impressive, their greatest strength was their ability to turn enemies into friends, to choose hope over fear, and to keep building bridges even when others were burning them down. The age of human influence in the galaxy had begun, and it would be built not on conquest but on connection.